South African President Cyril Ramaphosa defended the country's land policy on Monday after US President Donald Trump threatened to cut off American funding due to what he described as land confiscations and the mistreatment of certain groups. Trump's comments made the previous day have reignited a contentious debate over South Africa's land reform efforts and its historical racial inequalities. So what is Trump exactly referring to? We explain. Trump did not specify which groups were being treated badly in his statement, but his reference to land confiscation likely points to white landowners in South Africa. These landowners still hold control over approximately 3/4 of the country's freehold farmland, according to 2017 land audit. This is in stark contrast to the 4% of land owned by Black South Africans, who make up 80% of the population. This land ownership imbalance is a key issue in the country's ongoing land reform efforts. To address this inequality, President Ramaphosa signed a law last month allowing the state to expropriate land in the public interest, which could include instances of expropriation without compensation. The law has been controversial, especially within Ramaphosa's coalition government, which includes the mostly whitely led Democratic Alliance, that is the DA. However, no land has yet been expropriated under the new law. South Africa's land issue is deeply rooted in its colonial and apartheid history. During British colonial rule, most farmland was given to white settlers, and under 1950 apartheid system, the Afrikaner National Party passed legislation that allocated 85% of the country's territory to whites while forcibly removing 3.5 million Black South Africans from their ancestral land. Since the end of apartheid and the African National Congress, that is the ANC, coming to power in 1994, some land restitution has occurred under a willing buyer, willing settler model. However, this process has been criticized for its slow pace and the accusations that white landowners are hoarding land, hindering meaningful reform. The new expropriation law seeks to speed up the process and address these historic imbalances, but it remains highly divisive. The expropriation law has been the subject of intense debate for years, with critics arguing that it violates constitutional property rights and could deter foreign investment. The Democratic Alliance, which is South Africa's main opposition party, has been particularly vocal in its opposition, asserting that the law is unconstitutional. On Monday, the DA issued a statement addressing Trump's comments, clarifying that the Expropriation Act does not allow for arbitrary land seizures. Instead, it mandates that land can only be expropriated if it is proven to be in the public interest, and authorities must first attempt to reach an agreement with the landowner. After years of parliamentary discussions, the law's wording has been carefully crafted to ensure that land expropriation is carried out in a controlled and transparent manner. However, its implementation remains contentious with both political and public opposition. In 2023, the United States committed approximately $440 million in aid to South Africa, with the bulk of funding directed towards health initiatives, particularly HIV/AIDS programs. Trump's threat to cut funding raised concerns, particularly since US assistance accounts for 17% of South Africa's HIV/AIDS funding, according to South African government. However, South Africa relies on this funding for health, farming, education, and energy programs, with HIV/AIDS funding representing the largest portion. While the aid is significant, the bigger concern lies with trade relations. Under the African Growth and Opportunity, South Africa benefits from preferred tariffs on quarter of its $15 billion exports to the US. AGOA accounts for 2% of South Africa's total exports, making it an important aspect of the country's economic ties with the United States. Meanwhile, Trump's remarks about land confiscation and white farmers are not new. During his first term, Trump raised concerns about the large-scale killings of white farmers in South Africa, suggesting that the country was witnessing violent land takeovers similar to those that occurred in Zimbabwe in 2000. However, there is no evidence to support claims of widespread land seizures or systematic killings of white farmers in South Africa. Similarly, in 2023, Elon Musk, who's a prominent South African-born billionaire and Trump ally, accused the South African government of seeking to genocide white people. This narrative, which circulates in far-right circles, falsely links land reform with violent acts of ethnic cleansing. While there have been incidents of farm attacks, the scale is much smaller than often depicted. Of the approximately 20,000 murders in South Africa annually, around 50 are of white farmers, with the majority of victims being black South Africans. As tensions over land reform continues to simmer, South Africa faces the challenge of balancing the need to redress with concerns over property and rights and foreign investment. President Ramaphosa has defended the land expropriation law as a necessary step towards addressing the country's historical injustices, while his critics argue that it could harm South Africa's economy. Meanwhile, Trump's threat to cut aid and his rhetoric on white farmers add another layer of complexity to the situation. With no evidence to back his claims, his intervention risks inflaming an already sensitive issue and may exacerbate the political divide within South Africa. The global community will be closely watching to see how this issue unfolds and whether diplomatic efforts can prevent further deterioration of relations between the United States and South Africa.